Hello, everyone. Welcome back for another week of the Max Potential Habits podcast. Today, I am really excited about having on Emi Kirschner, who is a business coach. She's an investor, a serial entrepreneur, a coach, an international speaker, and she masterfully combines her intuitive abilities with her analytical sense to help driven entrepreneurs become the visionary CEO of their business, which results in doubling revenue. We all want that. And what I'm really excited about is that pre-show we had a conversation about the hustle-burnout-cycle. And I know that a lot of you listening get stuck in this hustle-burnout cycle. So we want to talk about productivity, performance, stress, balancing those out. And the way that Emi worded it, I really like. She said, flatline the highs and the lows. So that's what you're going to hear today, among a whole bunch of other awesome stories that we always dig and dive into. So welcome to the show today, Emi.
Thank you. I am so super excited to be here with you.
Nice. I know. And we realized when we were talking last time that we both live, well, you're moving though. Are you moving local?
I'm just moving apartments in.
Okay, so we live close to each other, so we're definitely going to get to hang out. And I love those serendipities where I'll be chatting with someone on Zoom, and then all of a sudden I realize, like, oh, you live near me. We could actually hang out. That's so cool.
We could have coffee or cocktail.
That's so great, right? Yes. So first, share some of your backstory. I'd love to hear whatever you want to share in terms of backstory and how you got into coaching.
Through the most windy, crooked path ever.
Nice.
Ever. I've done a little bit of everything. So my journey really began. First of all, I have my business administration degree from college. So my background just in general is business. And I've worked in convention and conference planning, marketing. I worked as a project manager for a really small boutique marketing agency that worked only with aftermarket motorcycle products. I worked in financial services. I sold insurance. Like I did, all these weird things that all bring like this huge knowledge base together. But my entrepreneurship journey really started when my oldest son, who's now 21, so this is like forever, right? But when he was just about a year, he had digestive issues, and we went to all the doctors and the specialists, and the last pediatric gastroenterologist was like, we don't know. All the tests come back, negative or normal, and try giving him some more olive oil so that it'll slow down his digestion and maybe he won't lose his weight, and see you later. And I was like 27 at the time, and I was like, but it was the catalyst for me really just diving into health and wellness and figuring it out. And I healed his gut in like a year and a half with a lot of trial and error, because 12, 13 months, your kid's not going, oh, those grapes? Yeah, don't do that.
Wow, yeah.
So that was the beginning, because then I started getting really into healthy eating. I learned how to cook. I started working for a caterer just part-time, which then I kind of climbed the ranks through them, started my own catering business and personal chef business, which then led me to health coaching. And that eventually, I was really a couple of years in, and I woke up and I was just like, if I have to write another blog about the 5 things that you're supposed to eat today, or this week, I'm going to throw up. And my dedication and my passion for healthy food has not changed, but it wasn't the way I was supposed to serve. And when I went and looked at how I was serving my existing clients, I was like, oh, look at that. You're working with all entrepreneurs and you're really working on sales and marketing. It just happens to be the thing that's stressing them out and causing them to either overeat or not eat at all.
Uh-huh.
So it took me a little while to obviously shift into fully becoming a business coach. Like, how do I stand out? What are my zones of genius, etc.? But I've been able to take all of that experience over the last 20 years and doing all these different things and utilize that for my clients so that they can grow faster, bring on team faster, hit multi-6 figures a lot sooner than they would have without the burnout, without the stress. And just have a ton of fun with them. Like it's really cool to play with the people that I serve, who are mostly creative entrepreneurs. in
So
some,
awesome.
some fashion.
So much gold in there. Thinking about something that stood out to me is when our path for our children often is what pivots us in a new direction. And then you being willing to take the leap to realize that something was off and go, I'm going to pivot and, stop health coaching and go in this different direction because you see the connection and that you want to serve differently. And I think sometimes it's scary for people to do that because, you've been trained in a certain way for so long, or you've been working with that group of people for so long. And then you're like, okay, now what? But it sounds like what was it like for you? Was it scary
to
pivot?
Weird.
Yeah.
No, it was weird because I'd love to be like, well, overnight, I became a business coach, but there was this whole process of like, I don't have an MBA, right? I don't have these qualifications, except that everybody was coming to me for business advice.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And even like my former boss, when he was getting ready to retire, was like, how do we create the exit strategy? Now, have I ever developed an exit strategy for anybody? No, but we did it.
Yeah.
And it comes to me naturally. So it was really owning that. And I think this is where a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, particularly in getting to that 6 figures when they're just starting out, is they have that imposter syndrome. And like, do I offer any value? And then they undercharge. So I definitely went through that period in a couple of months of, what am I doing? And it was really a friend of mine who, her business is, she's the CFO for small to mid-sized businesses. And we were talking about this and like, I don't know how I stand out and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, do you have any idea like how good you are at blah, blah, blah? And I was like, oh, okay. like it comes so naturally, you don't think about it.
Totally. Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay. Let's dig there a little bit because imposter syndrome is one of my, I love talking and thinking about imposter syndrome helping people overcome it. Tell us more. Like when you think about that imposter syndrome piece and you're talking about undercharging, where do people get stuck in that world? Because I see people getting stuck. I'm curious for you, what you see for entrepreneurs and how they get stuck on that credential piece and all of that.
Yeah. What I see is it comes so easily for them. Right? Whatever the thing is that they offer, they just do intuitively or naturally, like that's their gift. And they presume that everybody else can do it easily too. It's like my friend who's the CFO, like, I can do that stuff. I mean, I can, but it's painful and nobody wants me to. Or like, the audio for my podcast, again, can do, but it would take me 6 months to do like 1 episode.
Yeah.
And, there would be a podcast, right? But I can give advice and help people build businesses and create that CEO mindset for the people that I work with really easily.
Yeah. And I love that term, CEO mindset.
Yeah. I'm like, you need to start CEOing. And people are like, oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're really saying is that because it seemingly comes natural to you, you overlook your power in being able to show up and help other people that way, which then completely minimizes your genius.
Exactly. So when you start recognizing like, oh, what I offer other people can't do, and then you're charging for it, then that's just owning your value and empowering other people to recognize you and them.
Yes.
So, super important.
Yeah, I want to point out for everyone listening, because I think this is a really powerful, easy tool, is to just start asking people, what do you see me being good at? And it helps bring insight into you, because you start to hear an overlap of patterns where people will be like, oh, you're so great at this. You're so great at this. You're so great at this. And it's hard for some people to do, especially if you're somebody who struggles with imposter syndrome. It's hard for you to receive compliments. And so it's hard to ask people like, hey, what do you see I really shine at? But try it out, because it's such a useful, powerful tool. Like exactly like you're saying, your friend helped you see like, oh, okay, this is like very natural and easy to me. Why wouldn't I do that? And tell me what you think about the credential piece, because I know people get stuck here too. You said you didn't have a business degree, so you're like, well, can I work with entrepreneurs? Did you ever get one? Did you?
No, I didn't have my MBA, and I won't. I don't.
No. Yeah, me neither.
Because my value is in my experience and my expertise and my ability to solve problems and uncover roadblocks.
Yeah.
And I don't need an MBA to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Some of the business, Leeds Business School in Boulder is really well known. And sometimes when I talk to people from that department and the entrepreneur professors and stuff like that, they're like, you're not learning the practical strategies of business. It's not what you think it would be. And a coach, I think the cool thing about coaching and coaches, generally speaking, is that you have the outside perspective, which actually is useful not to have as much training in that area.
Yeah. And I mean, while practicality is good, it doesn't solve challenging problems either.
Yeah.
You got to think out of the box when you're creating something newly, or even just pulling out, like, how do I stand out from, a gazillion other people who are doing the same thing or something similar?
Yeah.
And how do I pivot? Because the market's always changing.
Yeah.
So,
so it's asking those powerful questions.
Yeah. Practical is great. Yeah. And there's a place for it. And I do believe in having systems and process and some linear thinking and obviously a plan. But the rest of it, it's like game on, let's play.
Yeah. Yeah. So fun. Yeah. Okay. So I want to hear, before we move to hustle and burnout cycle, what would you say to people listening who are either in building a business and stuck with imposter syndrome? Or, let's speak to those people. What's some good advice for them?
Raise your rates now.
Raise your rates now. I love it. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. And what I have my clients do is, like, we set yearly revenue goals, and I'll have them pick a number and they have to tell me what it is. And then I'm like, double it.
Nice.
And I'm like, do you feel like you're going to throw up? And they're like, I'm like, great. It's a number.
Awesome. I've done my job.
Perfect. Because it's not about reaching it. It's about setting and creating a plan to get there and actually implementing the plan.
Yes.
Like, if your goal is 200 or 300K and you're potentially doubling your revenue, like, if you're at 290 and you're 10K short, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I look at it, because people frequently will stop short of where their goal is in their activity. But if it's big enough, you're still going way beyond what's comfortable.
Yeah.
And comfortable is not where the growth is.
Mic dropper. So true, right? I mean, and I think we all, let's say, even me, who knows this work, and I'm sure you too, it's like, this work, you do this work, it's your life's work, and there's still those places where I need someone to pull me up and be like, stretch yourself to the ultimate limit that you possibly can. Like, you're thinking too small, or you're limiting what you think is possible based on what's happened in the past. So let's double it and play in that field and see where your brain wants to go with that stretch.
Yeah.
Really step outside of the comfort zone. So what's a place that you've done that where you're like, where you really, were scared and went for it anyway?
Oh God, every step of the way of, being comfortable. Like, all right, I'm a business coach now.
Yeah.
Starting the podcast, the first time I spoke, which was horrible, by the way, horrible. I try to set things every year that are uncomfortable. I always try to set a big revenue goal. And, again, it's not about getting there. It's about having the plan and taking the actions.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, anything that's new. I'm going to start learning horseback riding, which I'm not really scared of, because I've been wanting to do it for a while, but it's still, I've been procrastinating actually researching a stable, because I'm like, well, I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
If I keep waiting, the whole summer will be gone. So
yeah, it's that constant taking a leap, right? It's like, okay, let's take the leap. Let's take the next leap. Let's stretch here. Let's grow here. And you're right. I like that you pointed out, it isn't always about fear. It might not be that you're staying in your comfort zone because you're afraid to move out of it. It just might sometimes be that it's easier. It doesn't, the time commitment, all of those things. But then when you step out into that new part of yourself, and even just, it's cool. Think about horseback riding. It's a new environment, and it's working with animals and learning new skills, and it changes your brain to actually step into a different part of yourself and a different activity.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And I'm doing something for me and not others, and all that stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome.
With fitness too, it's like, how am I showing up? Right? because it's so easy to go through the motions of riding my Peloton bike or doing yoga and not really pushing.
Yeah.
So that awareness of like, am I just on autopilot, or am I really intentionally doing the thing that I said I was going to do? And that plays into business too, with like, am I making the sales calls and I'm not concerned about whether or not I actually sell anything, or am I out there like, you know, connecting, reaching out and closing stuff and measuring that, even though it makes me really uncomfortable because I'm not used to doing it. And it's such a muscle memory thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So stepping out of autopilot consistently so that you don't get stuck in autopilot comfort zone, stretching yourself in all areas. It's like training your brain in the direction to constantly be up leveling.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay, let's talk hustle. First, right? Like there's this thing with hustle, the word hustle in and of itself that people are charged by. So say something there. I want to hear your take on that.
Let me make my face.
I did. That was awesome.
The whole hustle and grind thing goes up my back. And I know that for some people, hustle is motivating, like they're getting their groove on and everything. And that's great. For me, it's like, not even like taking advantage, is moving too fast and without good results, right? Like if you can grow your business super fast and you've got great results and you're not exhausted, then that's awesome. But the hustle and grind piece is where we're taking on, for me, is where we're taking on too much with very few results, and you feel like you're banging your head up against the wall. You're working all the time and you don't have, I don't really believe in life balance, so it's more flow for me. You know, what do I have surrounding me that's feeding me? And particularly women suck at that. Like, they're giving to everybody else. Yeah. And I see a lot of coaches too, like they're not protective of their time and their self-care to really be beneficial. And that's where you get these like super high highs where it's like they're either in the creativity zone, or they're, closed a bunch of deals and that all feels great. And they're working a ton, and then they hit the low where either they get sick or they've got stuff going on with their kids or friends or family or whatever. And they burn out because they don't have, enough support to get them through. And then that affects the revenue cycle of their business. So I like to try to flatline that, as we said, because you're really training yourself to run a marathon or two and not just sprint. And for me, hustling is about sprinting.
Yeah. Yes. I so much good stuff to talk about in there. I think about that idea of like hustle can be fun, or it can be drudgery, burnout, awfulness. Right. And I like that you're saying something that I really focus on with the entrepreneurs I work with is the idea of self-care. Yeah. Like if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to burn out. And because exactly, it's not a sprint. We're talking about like an ultra, right? Like we're going the distance, even beyond that. It's like your life's journey. This is our life's work. This is whatever business you're building. For, I think the people I attract to my audience, it's not people who are like, yeah, I want a one and done kind of like make a whole bunch of money and then walk away from my thing that I love doing. It's like, this is my life, so how do I show up and enjoy it every day?
Right. This is the beginning of my empire.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I want to bring everybody in it, with me, and invite people into the community and have fun. And the Dalai Lama said the point of life is happiness. And it's like one of my go-to quotes, because it's so perfect in that if you're not doing things that make you feel good, why bother?
Yes.
We were not here to be miserable.
Yeah. And it's so surprising. It's funny because I just did my solo cast exactly this week on that. It was like, how do we manifest by feeling better, like doing the things we love? And it seems very obvious to do the things you love and stop doing the things you don't love doing. But we do it all the time. And I want to hear from you. Like, what do you think that is for people? Why do you think that we would set ourselves up to do things we don't enjoy and expect an outcome of joy?
I think because we're still, and I think we're coming out of it, as I see a shift in a lot of people and how they're kind of doing life, but we're coming out of this old mentality of lack and it has to be hard. I know, like, that's how I was raised. Like, you have to work hard, right?
Yeah.
Like, God forbid it should come easy, because that is like a no.
Yeah.
So people overly complicate stuff
Totally.
to, right, to, make it hard and difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
And I think especially in the United States, like, we have this whole productivity thing. Like, how can we get more productivity out of every hour of the day, out of every person, instead of looking at performance and where are you performing at a higher level consistently. So I think when those things shift a little bit more, we'll be more focused on the happiness, because, a lot of studies show that, like, people are only really productive for 5 out of 7 hours or 8 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can, and I don't, like, for me, productivity is more about checking, like, to-do lists off than actually accomplishing big projects or making impact in whatever way that, is meaningful for you.
Mm-hmm.
So to be measuring, I was productive and checked off all my things isn't as, I think, gratifying as I got, like, the creation process for this project laid out today, and I did it quickly, as opposed to, and it feels good, as opposed to, it took me half the time or something. Like, it's, it's just different in how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And setting yourself up so that you're consistently bringing your best self to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's your workout or your work.
Yeah. Talk more about this, because I think this is so incredibly critically powerful for people to get, that productivity is not the same as performance. And also you don't have to work your ass off 18 hours a day to create a business and life you love. And I so agree with you. I think, and I definitely was trained that way as a kid, like watching my parents as entrepreneurs, and my dad worked a lot. And it really got ingrained in my brain, like, you got to work hard. And that was like, it was almost like the moral thing to do,
right. Like, if you weren't,
yes,
like,
you're lazy. Yes. Yeah. And lazy was like the word of, like, oh, I never want to be seen as lazy.
Right.
That would be the worst thing ever,
Yeah.
And I've been really shifting my energy toward fun and playfulness in my business. And, like, how much fun can I make everything be? And do I enjoy doing this and all those things? And it has been so freaking fun to watch the shifts of what happens. Right. And, because you have that idea, I think, for people listening too, that are stuck in this, which I know a lot of them high performers are, they, like, think, I got to keep going. I got to achieve the next thing. I don't take a break for myself. Once I get there, then the next mountain to climb is, like, instant. And so it's letting go into some of the relaxation and playfulness and fun, and trusting that you'll actually get even better results.
Mm-hmm. No one has had a brilliant idea while they're on the hamster wheel.
Yes.
Like, it's not where things happen. It's when you're relaxed and you're chill and you can allow your mind to unwind, that the next great thing comes to mind, or you solve the problems. Like, when I have 2 dogs, so we go for a walk every day. And, like, if I'm stuck and I need to kind of just, move something through my head, we go at a different time than what's in my calendar, because they love the exercise, and it just allows me to think differently.
Yeah. So, that's so great. I mean, I think that's such a good, practical, actionable strategy for people, where you go, okay, how do I loosen up the reins a little bit and allow more flow? I like that you use the word flow instead of balance. Because the playfulness is so great. I love that quote so much. It's like thinking about, I think someone, I don't remember where I read this or heard it, or if someone said it to me, but they were talking about their best ideas they have a marker in the shower, because it's where they, like, get really creative and playful. And I was like, it's so true. Like, for me, when I come up with the greatest ideas, it's usually either on a run, like right when I'm, like, laying in bed, just kind of, like, daydreaming and, just relaxing from the day, or in the morning when I'm doing my morning routine of, like, journaling, meditating, and being free to create. So I actually schedule in unstructured creativity time, because it's true, when you're grinding and, like, we can say hustling, when you're hustling hard and not allowing it to be fun, you're locked up on the treadmill.
Yeah.
So it's so powerful. Will you share a little bit about your idea, the different thought behind flow versus balance?
Yeah. So balance indicates that everything's equal, right? That it weighs the same, has the
Mm-hmm.
same value at all times. And nothing in your life is, generally speaking, all ever in balance. There's times where you need to focus on your relationships, or just you, or your work, more than other things. And if you allow that to come and go, and this is part of what I learned as a single mom, because I don't think my kids like ever knew that I was working, full time when they were little.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was home for the most part when they got off the bus. I went to a lot of their games. I did the homeroom, mom thing. I volunteered, and like that was my priority. It's just I needed to be able to make money to pay the bills, obviously, and like that's how I juggled everything. But it wasn't, I mean, sometimes there were days, because there's two kids, and I would get their schedules confused, or like, life happens. But overall, it wasn't a difficult thing for me. And the whole life balance thing, or work-life balance thing, goes right up my back. Like, it's one of my little pet peeves, because I don't think it should be. It's like putting something in a box almost.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And we don't separate, particularly as entrepreneurs, work and life completely, particularly if you're working at home. I mean, yeah, you may close up your desk, close up your laptop, and you're not doing that task, but I can guarantee somewhere in the background, you've got some idea going on while you're doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So share with listeners some strategies to eliminate or reduce that noise that's going on. Like, oh, I'm hanging out with my family or my kids and I should be working, or I'm hanging out at work and I should be hanging out with my family. Like, what are some good strategies there for people? Because I hear this a lot.
Right. So I mean, routines are really important. So having an opening of day and close of day, particularly beginning and end of your work day,
Mm-hmm.
to me is really important. And whatever that looks like, from journaling, writing some gratitude, cleaning up your desk, closing out any emails. Like, it doesn't need to be this epically long thing. It could be 5 minutes, it could be half an hour, but it's really deciding to take like that time and wrap it up. And then being disciplined enough to, whenever you decide that your end of day is,
Mm-hmm.
being disciplined enough to be like, all right, other stuff can wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious for you. Okay. Because so I know your kids, you have how many kids? You have two?
I have two, they're 19 and 21.
Okay. And they're both off to college
Um,
or off, let's
yeah,
say.
Brian lives
Okay.
on his own. Matt's
Okay.
here.
Yeah. Because I remember you and I talked about this a while back, and something that I have struggled with in this way is because I don't have a partner. My kids are older. Like, sometimes the end of day used to be dictated by my kids. And now, because they're not here needing me and wanting me, like, I will then push it, to the max. Or I'll be like, well, there's nothing else to do tonight, so I could just keep working and working, 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 So it's like, I love that you pointed out it's the decision and the discipline to create the routine, to create playfulness and relaxation, so you're not always hustling.
Yeah, and I can go down that path just as easily because I'm having fun. Like, if I'm creating something, I want to write copy and I've got the idea.
Totally.
And no other reason. Like,
yeah. But so how do you know the difference? That's a good question, because for me too, I go like, my life is very inspiration led. Like, I will play as hard as I want to and work as hard as I want to based on like, is it fun? Is it joyful? But then I noticed like this week, this last week, I moved in the last few weeks. And so I've been like pushing pretty hard, trying to get things set up. And then because I worked hard moving and packing and then, all that stuff, then this last week, and I played really hard. And, so it's like that. It's interesting to watch how it all goes,
So for me, it's gauging, like, am I excited about doing this, or am I doing it because I feel like I should? And I'm air quoting for those of you who are listening.
Yeah.
And if I'm excited, like, oh my God, I can hardly wait to get this out and get it done, or I've got this idea and I don't have anything else that I need to do right this second, then, that's a great place to be.
Yeah.
And I think but it's exactly what you said. Like, you moved and you played, and you've got to have that downtime from the workplace, and you'll get into a work groove that, you know, where you are working a little bit more. There'll be a project that needs to get done, etc.
Yeah.
But for me, drinking enough water, eating relatively healthy, and sleeping are like non-negotiables.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I'll let it's something I've been working on, is the sleep part. Cause I can really let my sleep go. If I want to have a lot of fun, I'll just be like, oh, I don't need sleep. And then I feel it, you know, I'm like, oh, my brain doesn't quite function in the same way when I don't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
But I like what you said. It's you asking yourself, like, is this joyful? Am I having fun? Do I want to be engaged in this? So it's that constant self-reflective awareness about, am I hustling because I think I should, or out of fear or doubt or worry or obligation, or am I enjoying this project because it's what I really want to spend my time doing?
And check in with like a friend or a mentor or whatever. Like I checked in last week, so I was like, God, I'm so tired, and what's wrong with me? And they're like, hello, you've been working a lot. I was like, oh, that's right. Duh, I need a down day. So like I took this whole weekend and played and sat in the sun, and
nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
And I feel, you know, completely recharged. So it's like learning, you know, how to have that flow where, because your life isn't just Monday through Friday.
Yeah. Especially
like,
as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah. Well, and I will frequently work on like a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning to get organized, catch up on stuff, because it's quiet and there's no interruptions, and I don't feel like I need to be on social media. But that also means that somewhere during the week, there's a couple of hours that I'm doing something personal.
Yeah.
So it's not like, that's the shift for me, is, you know, what's going to work and get the things that I want to done.
Yeah. I mean, to me, what you're saying is allow the flow of your own life and business the way that you want to create it and construct it, instead of having this preconceived notion about it's got to be this way and I've got to work these hours. And, you know, it's like there's a lot of flow in what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And not that everybody needs to shift their day, but I like frequently don't start my day until 10, my work day.
Me too.
Because my kids don't need me in the morning. I don't like getting up. I'm really slow. I need coffee. I need to take my doggies for a little walk. I like to journal and meditate and exercise.
Yeah.
And I spent years rushing and getting out to the bus and doing all the mom things. And I don't have to right now, and I'm not going to.
Yeah. It's pretty fun when you get to structure your life exactly how you want to.
Yeah. And I know somebody may be listening, well, I'm still juggling, you know, the bus and kids and everything. And that's okay. Like, find the place somewhere else where you can have the flow that you want.
Yes.
Right?
Such great advice, because it's true. You know, I had kids really young, so I'm at that stage where I get to do that now, but I have lots of friends who have really young kids, and their life is definitely structured by their kids' activities. And so I think it's, you know, like, give some tips there. What would that look like if you feel like you're in the hustle and grind and you feel like you're constantly going? And I know it's what we've been talking about this whole time, but it's like, what would you have people asking themselves or shifting so that they could feel more flow in their life? I was going to say, it's funny because I say balance, but it's like this idea, the feeling of more balance. I like that. One of my favorite words is poise, the balanced state of equilibrium. That's the sense, right? It's like, let's flow so we can be poised and enjoy our day, because life is really short, and why wouldn't we?
Yeah. So what's most important to me? Like, what are the three? Three things.
Yeah. Like, what are 3 tips you could give people to be like, okay, if I came to you and I said, hey, help me get into a state of flow and balance. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a parent. I'm juggling a lot. What can I do?
So I would have you identify the 3 areas that you want to work on. And I like 3, so you see a lot of that in my work and my, actually just create a 90-day planner, which I'm just like testing out with some of my clients right now, but there's a lot of 3s.
Cool.
What are the 3 areas you want to work on that are bothering you, that are, you know, you don't feel you're in sync with? And then what are 3 things that you want to do in each of those areas, and pick 1 from each area. So you've started with the 3 areas, so you're up to 9 different things with 3 from each area, but you're back down to 1 in each area, right? So let's say it was fitness and kids, right? Then you've got 1 goal for doing something with work. You've got 1 goal for fitness and 1 goal to, you know, be with your kids. And maybe it's, you know, all have dinner together 3 nights a week. right?
Okay.
Like that could be both fitness because you're eating healthier and you're spending time having, great conversation with your kids. It could be, something that's more targeted and revenue generating, which is where I focus my clients' times a lot, is, stop doing all the other stuff and let's just focus on what's going to generate the most revenue and activity there.
Yeah.
The easiest.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at where your time is and what's going to give you the most joy. And then on the flip side, I would ask myself, like, where can I do less? Like, what can I let go of? Who can I ask for support? Who can help me with this? Like my kids and I, when they were like 10 and 12-ish, we got into a thing where their rooms were a mess, the house was a mess. And I don't deal with that well. I'm not, like, that's where I don't flow. I need things picked up reasonably well, despite the boxes, because I'm moving as well in the background. But, we had this conversation about, like, either you can help me pick up and keep things picked up, and we'll go do fun things, or, we can leave things the way we are, and I'm going to pick everything up and I'm going to put them where I want them, and we won't do any fun things. And that was really the beginning of us becoming a team, so that there was the fluidity in whoever needed whatever thing, and we got to do the fun stuff. But now it's paying off where, like, they're both coming to help me move. And there's no questions asked. It's like, of course we're going to help you. I mean, there may be some grumbling along the way as we're, trying to shove the sofa down the hall, but it'll be fun, laughter, and,
Yeah.
that stuff. So that's
so cool.
where, those are the questions, is what do I really want to focus, what's important, and how can I do less? Because most of us are still overscheduled and trying to shove 3 weeks worth of stuff into one day.
I think that is one of the most powerful questions. How can I do less? And it is not typical for high performance people. It's like, entrepreneurs, generally speaking, to me, anyone who's going to hire a coach and work with us, they're going to be people who are really into building their business powerfully, right? So it's like that mentality often is not asking, how can I do less? And what brings me joy? And so it's training yourself to enjoy life more. And I mean, I don't know where you're at in the manifestation, magnetism, law of attraction kind of world, but like, okay, cool. Yeah. 2 thumbs up, everyone. I figured, because we wouldn't be hanging out together if that was the case, but if that weren't the case. But it's like that idea of, to me, going like, you got to be high vibe in order to attract the things you want in your life. And if you're doing things that make you feel miserable, and if you're in a constant state of burnout, life is going to suck. And why do you even want to build a business? Why do you want to create a business that feels like a job that you hate? That makes no sense.
And you're not serving your people.
Right.
You're doing everything and you're not asking for support.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big one you said in there too. You said, like, asking yourself, who can I reach out for help? Which I think people struggle with too. How can I do less? Where can I do more that brings me joy? Where can I refine what it is in my business that's bringing me profitability, instead of all the checking of the boxes of the things that you think you should do because it's made other people successful? There's so much gold there. And I think it's just this overarching feeling of like, create a life and business you love. And it takes you becoming a person who shows up with the habits of doing a life and business you love.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
And some of it sounds not silly, but like so minuscule, like share gratitude, have, morning routines. And but it's life-changing when you're intentional about them and you're looking at like your day-to-day change. It's pretty cool over time to see how you show up much more powerfully and intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh, so good. Okay. Share with us. I gotta look. Oh, we've been going for a while. Okay. Share with us first, what are the top 3 max potential habits that you think got you where you are today?
That's tough. There's so many. Not being afraid to pivot, like recognizing when things aren't working. I just did that this spring where I had a membership site and I launched and it was fine. And I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. Like, I don't like launching. So I created a 90-day program and I'm having a blast. Like stay
Nice.
aligned. So if it's not working, pivot.
Nice.
Persistence and practice. Like all of the habits that we talked about are about practice and not necessarily mastering or being perfect at it. Yeah.
Dropping perfection, right?
Yeah. Just get it done.
Yeah.
And then I think really getting uncomfortable, like seeking discomfort, and not necessarily giant discomfort. It's that incremental discomfort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With the intention of what would you say? With the intention of what? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, growth.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking you were going to, yeah.
Where do I stretch?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think something that's been so powerful for me to learn in the last few years of jumping into personal growth and development and coaching is this idea of like, growth isn't actually very comfortable. And most people think that growth and progress and success is like this, a trajectory that's kind of straight line where it's like always up, always up. I'm practicing and it's going well and things are awesome, but it's like, it's pretty freaking uncomfortable actually. Like I'm uncomfortable all the time. Yeah. I do it anyway. And it's fun on the other side when you're like, okay, I put myself in this really uncomfortable situation. And here I am on the other side now with skills, tools, lessons,
right,
all that stuff. But it's like along the way, I mean, it's a decision, right? It's that decision to go like, okay, I'm going to step into the most powerful version of myself, which means I've got to get uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. So fun. Okay. One more thing. Tell us some good books, top 3 books you've read recently or books that have changed your life.
Never Split the Difference, which is a book by, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was like a FBI hostage negotiator. And
yeah, I have it in my Audible and I haven't listened to it yet. And
it's great.
I can't think of his name either.
And like, it's awesome if you need help with your sales conversations.
Okay.
And interesting. I thought it was interesting. So that's one of my favorites. Oh God. I listened to both of Rachel Hollis's books, and while she didn't really say anything different that I haven't heard before, her stories are hysterical and they just land really well. So was it Girl Stop Apologizing and Girl Wash Your Face?
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Initially like, yeah, whatever. There's another person doing personal development.
But she is a good storyteller.
She's a great storyteller, and she will also mirror the habits, the gratitude, drink water, go to sleep, move your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she's as authentic as anybody can be in her openness with what's going on and what struggles for her, which is what I really enjoyed. Like there's no like separation.
Yeah.
And not that I pretend to know her, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It resonates though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Third book. Probably The One Thing by, and I can't remember.
Is that Scary Keller, I think.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
Keller Williams.
Yeah. He's got some powerhouse. It's funny because I've read real estate investment books of his and he's got incredible strategy tips, and that one too. Yeah.
Well, that was super cool because it's like, and I've listened to a couple of podcasts where he's been interviewed and he literally is like, if it doesn't contribute to the one thing that I'm focused on, which now is more family for him, he's like, then I just don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was talking about some like templated emails he has because he gets asked to do a lot of things because he's successful and stuff. And
I love that.
That's his check-in. Does this contribute to the thing that I want?
Totally. Well, and it's that question of how can I do less, right? So it's like learning to say no. How can I do less? Especially when you're someone who's an overachiever. It's that idea of, I love that idea because for me, it's always, is this in alignment with my vision? If it's not, it's super easy to say no. It's like I tell people all the time, I get asked to do all kinds of things and I'm like, I just check in with myself real quick. Like, is this going to bring me joy? Is this in alignment with my vision? If it's a yes, then it's a yes. And if it's a no, it's like, no. And I don't need to apologize. I just go, hey, I'm super focused on my vision. Thanks for the opportunity. I wish you all the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, wonderful to be asked, but you're not contributing or giving anything to anybody if you're overcommitted.
Right. And doing things obligatorily, which is such a joy suck.
Right?
Right. Okay. You are awesome. I love this conversation.
Thank you.
Will you share with people where they can find you?
Oh, absolutely. So you can find me most often at the Tribe of Leaders on Facebook. It's a Facebook group. Or the Tribe of Leaders podcast, which is on iTunes or Apple, whatever, and everywhere else.
Yeah. Okay. So Tribe of Leaders, and your Facebook group is open to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Tribe of Leaders. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. And then your podcast, which is incredible too. Okay. And of course, everyone listening, those links will be in the show notes. Thank you so much. I can't wait for us to hang out.
Absolutely. It'll be so much fun.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you took lots of notes. I know this has been a conversation that we've all had before, and how I think that it's something that everyone struggles with is that hustle, burnout, and stress, and figuring out how to be in flow in life and business and bring more joy. So I'm glad that you are all here. Let us know what you got out of it. Tag us in social media, share some comments, and I will be back next week. I hope you all have an incredible week where you thrive and feel alive. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Max Potential Habits podcast. If you're liking what you've heard, it would be so incredibly awesome if you would subscribe to the channel and leave a 5-star rating and a written review. This helps me help more people while we grow our NFA community so we can rock it out together. For Max Potential Habits resources, go to nfacoaching.com, where you can access all of my resources. There's free ebooks, PDF checklists, a journal template, a business mindset meditation kit, and so much more. Plus, links to NFA coaching on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And if you're super serious about up-leveling, there's also a link to schedule a free consult to work with me in group or one-on-one coaching. Until next time, I hope you have a Max Potential Habits Day where you get inspired to do whatever it takes to transform into the most empowered version of yourself so you can lead a rich, thriving, kick-ass life and business.